Good evening. One time, there was a great philosopher, Greek philosopher Socrates. His insights, his analysis, the vision which he was imparting to people was phenomenal. And therefore, he was becoming very famous. And therefore, many people got attracted to him. The innocent, the needy, people who wanted help, and even those who were envious, the unwanted. So the envious people contrived a conspiracy against Socrates, filled the ears of the king, and therefore the king, on a whole pile of misunderstandings and the false framed up allegations, the king announced death sentence for Socrates. And Socrates was completely unaffected. And he was in the jail. And the day when his hanging had to be executed came. And Socrates was so peaceful. And Socrates was so blissful. When the soldiers came to hang him, they were seeing Socrates was so calm, so peaceful, so blissful. He was smiling. The soldiers were getting an inferiority complex. And therefore, they started chanting at Socrates. And they said, do you understand what is happening to you? Do you understand you're going to die in a few moments? How can you be so happy? Because the soldiers were able to see that their own lives were empty. And here was Socrates, who was so blissful, who was so calm, who was so deep. Even at the face, one of the greatest calamities one can think of in one's life. And while all of them were grinning, and all of them were not able to reconciliate and digest that why or how Socrates is so happy, Socrates looked at them, all of them, with a great smile. With a compassionate smile and a glance filled with warmth and kindness, he looked at all of them. And he said something very meaningful and instructive. He said, what to say of killing me, you cannot even touch me. And he smiled again. And he was so blissful. As if he was completely unaffected. Nothing was going to happen to him as if. So what is that knowledge which can equip ourselves with that tremendous resilience that even at the face of the greatest provoking situation which one can encounter, one can face it in a royal style. One can defeat it in a royal style with a calm and deep smile. To know about that, let's dive into our session today. If we reflect back, or if we reflect inside into our own identity, who are we? Where are we? Who am I? Where am I? Where do I spot myself? Where am I standing to the testimony of time, the past, the present, and where will I be? Who will I be in future? We can question. Am I this hand? But many times I see the hand gets temporarily paralyzed and not able to move it. Am I the legs? But there are people whose hands and legs are amputated as well. Am I the eyes? Am I the heart? The heart also gets transplanted. Who am I? That's an important question. The organs also get transplanted. Even grey matter can be inserted or taken off. So who am I? Just imagine when we were 80 years old. Just imagine when we were 80 years old. What was our body like then? What is the semblance to that body and the body we have now? Just imagine when we were 1 year old. What was the body like? One time I was just fluffing in my mother's cupboard and I found a photo album and I started looking. There was a photograph. There was a photograph of a very cute looking child. It was the child was looking so cute, so attractive that way. And I asked my mother, "Who is this fellow?" And my mother said, "This is you." So I felt very nice. I said, "Oh, this is nice. Okay, so nice, so nice." I felt very nice actually. It was that because, and then I happened to look at another album. Now, the cute-looking child was a little elder, maybe close to 1 year, 9, 10 months child. The other album was a very small child. Okay, get back again. The other album was a very small child, much smaller. And this child was, honestly speaking, this child was looking so ugly. And I didn't comment it much because as a culture you should not comment on something bad. But the child was really looking a little ugly and messed up. No? His features were so pathetic. You know? And my mother was seeing that I'm making faces. And then I asked my mother, who is this fellow? You know? And my mother said, "This is you." And I got the shock of my life. I said, "Oh, this is me. So messed up, so ugly." Mm. So I took so much time to digest it. Obviously, so when my mother told me this was me, this is muted. I took so much time to digest it that this is me. Obviously, my mother gave an explanation that when the child is born, the child doesn't look very attractive because it's really small body. And but when the child grows 3 4 months old, and then really the features of the body start coming out, the face starts, the child starts growing, and then actually the child starts becoming quite attractive. And so she was telling both of them are you yourself like that, and it was very difficult for me to understand and take it up, especially the first one, the smaller one, because that was the ugly one. Uh, so in this way, we can try to understand if we try to trace out what is our identity. It is a completely different body. We see, I saw that me as 1 month old was a completely different body as me as 1 year old, and what is me today. The body is completely changing. So where do we trace out our identity? We cannot trace out our identity in nationality because people change nationalities. We cannot trace out our identity uh, in a name, because suppose the Namkaran has happened after a month, so who were we in the first month of our birth? We cannot trace out our identity in our body as well, because who were we before we were born? So the quest for identity is intrinsic to all of us. We need an identity. If we identify ourselves with a changing, fleeting, temporary, transient spike identity, then all we achieve will be a transient kick, but no permanent eternal state. And that is what is the fallacy that is what is the fallacy in a materialistic life, because the identity is temporary. Therefore the effect which the identity therefore the result which pursuing or treading on that identity gets or yields is also a temporary titillation or a spike at max, but the integral of the core experience of our life remains empty. So all one got is a kick or a spike, which doesn't have much substance in the integral experience what we have of life, in the integral uh, fabric of our life. And therefore we need to understand our true identity. It's like, so identity is important. Just like if one gets a job, unless one identifies with the company, one cannot really work for the company. Unless one identifies for a college, one really cannot give his best for the college. But when one identifies with the college, then suppose an inter-college competition, one will be ready to give his uh, life and soul, everything for the college. We see here in Kharagpur, sometimes some students identify with the hall so much that to work out the hall affairs and the hall politics and all that, and the hall tempo, they even drop their CGPA. They say no, hall tempo should be high. They identify themselves so much with the hall, the various halls of residence. So it is identity which drives us, motivates us to move forward, and therefore we need to identify, we need to trace out our true identity, which the Vedic Shastras are talking about is beyond the material plane. So that is in short the flow of the session today. Who are we? Who am I? This question was researched by Professor Harry Monson from the Illinois College of Medicine. And he did an interesting observation, analysis, research in an attempt to answer this question. So, what is Professor Harry Monson's answer? The professor of anatomy, Illinois. He says most of the human body is water. In a 60-pound person, there are 5 pounds calcium, 1.5 pounds phosphate, and 9 ounces potassium, 6 ounces of sulfur, sodium, 1 ounce of magnesium, less than 1 ounce of iron, copper, and iodine. So, who am I, or who are you? Professor Harry Monson says you are 5 pounds of calcium and 1 ounce of phosphate and 1 ounce of magnesium and less than an ounce of iron, copper, iodine. That's what you are. That's what we are. And Professor Monson did not stop there. Now, after doing this entire analysis of the constituents which make up the human body, of the constituents which make up our identity, Professor Monson studied these elements. He went to the market, he found the costings of these elements, their relative quantities, respective quantities, and he came up with the price tag. Now, who are you? Now, so you have potassium, calcium, sodium, magnesium, and what is your worth? Professor Monson says the worth is, the price tag is rupees 110, available on Amazon or Flipkart. How does this sound? Try giving 110 rupees to a mother and ask for a child. If you're lucky, you'll only get a slap. So, the question to explore is that now, from a mechanistic science perspective, we may say, yes, this is how we analyze a thing into its constituents. But where is life in all these chemicals? Where is life in all these chemicals? That's the question which we have to ask. Just like, say for example, if there is, if you get, so suppose you get a call, you get to know that your friend was driving a Benz and he met with an accident, and now you happen to be working nearby, or you happen to be present nearby, and then you get a call, and then you rush to help your friend. Now here is a friend in a wounded state, and here is the Benz in a messed up state as well. So the question is, whom are we going to cater to first? The friend of the Benz. Now, if we apply uh, calculation from an objective value analysis point of view, the Benz is 20 lakhs, 25 lakhs. The human being is only rupees 110. So whom we are going to save first? Are we going to take the Benz first to garage, see that it is nicely taken care of, you know, it's all set right, and then the friend later will see. Or we're going to rush the friend to the hospital emergency first, and later we'll look at what happened to the Benz, is still there, and can be repaired, or what is the insurance or something, whatever works out. So this is the point. But when we analyze things from a chemical point of view, then we are losing the essence of the value. We are losing the very essence, the very life. What we land up with is 110. So just imagine, the analysis says that our body has 70% water. But just because our body has 70% water, do we feel that we are watery? Do we feel that we are watery? Watery. Do we ever feel like that? Or just because our body is mostly organic compounds are all based on carbon, do we ever feel that you get a feeling that I am carbonic? I have 4 valencies, 4 bondings I can do. I am carbonic. Do we ever feel like that? So this goes to show that the essence of life does not lie in chemicals. Chemicals can form a platform, a stage. But where is the performer? Where is the performer? Just like a house. The house has value when there are people living in it. When there is nobody living in that house is called as abandoned. And some people may start calling the house as haunted because there's nobody living there. What is the value of that place? People will be fearful going. But if somebody is living in the house, you can go to that house because you understand, okay, your friend is living there. You can have some reciprocation. Or your relative is there. Then visiting, interacting or interfacing that building is of value. But nobody there is no value. So the chemicals at max provide a stage. That's all. Now we may say, okay, the body is worth 110. Now, mind it, Professor Monson's research is not wrong. It's all proper. Even if we do this analysis, we may also come up with the similar price tag. Professor Monson's research is not wrong. But this research does not answer the question who we are. So you see, if the body is worth 110, but we see when there is life in the body, if one wants to sell out an organ, it sells out for lakhs. Or some organs can sell out. So this is the point. What is it that gives value to the body, that makes the body invaluable, is not of a chemical origin. That is something which we need to understand. It's not of a chemical origin. It's not just sodium potassium. That which gives value to the body, that which makes a living person invaluable, it doesn't have a chemical origin. In fact, Srila Prabhupada used to say that, you see, when there is life in a living organism, chemicals are the byproducts of life. It is not that chemicals produce life, but the reverse is true. Life produces chemicals. In a very simple example, just like a lemon tree. When a lemon tree is living, and you can see a lemon tree produces so many lemons during its lifespan. Now if you say it is producing so much of citric acid, obviously that citric acid is being produced in biodegradable containers. leak-proof containers. So, uh, so so many hundreds of liters of citric acid is produced. Why? Because the lemon tree is living. You uproot the lemon tree off, cut the lemon tree, then no lemons will come out. So it is life which produces chemicals. It is life which produces chemicals, not the reverse. Sometimes people say, no, you see, uh, what are these emotions, relationships? They say relationships are all based on emotions. This is all the phantasmagoria. What are these emotions? These emotions are just chemical secretions. Secretions, that's all. I mean, so really, these emotions are just chemical secretions. Now, if you ask a simple question, sir, you may easily say that, okay, emotions are chemical secretions. But what about the love which I feel for my mother? Is it just a chemical secretion? Is it just the presence or the absence, or if the chemical is drained out, then I'll stop feeling love for my mother? Or it's just about taking an injection? Like you take an injection of drugs and you get a kick. And all these feelings, my feelings for my mother are all just that kind of injection. Is it so cheap? It doesn't appear to be. There is much more value to life than what these chemicals can offer. And therefore, there is much more value to life than what these chemicals can offer. Yes, chemicals may be an effect of an emotion. The effect of an emotion. You have a positive emotion, you may have dopamine. You may have anger, then you have adrenaline. That's all okay. But those are effects. That is effectual. That is not causative. What is the cause is the more important thing. The effect is all fine. What is the cause? That cause is not having a chemical origin. That cause is beyond the chemical domain. That is our identity, the spirit soul. Now we can see that this particular outlook, what is the impact of this outlook in the world at large? That when we see things as chemicals, so people's is just a bundle of chemicals, then what kind of worldview that gives rise to? We can see this in today's world. As this, as the understanding of the soul is getting vaporized off from our mindsets and from our thought process and ideologies, and this particular kind of insight is creeping in that life is all chemicals and so on and so forth, then where what is missing now in society because of this is respect for life per se. Respect for life per se. Because if you say everything is just chemical, then it is just chemicals. Who cares then? It's just a bundle of chemicals. And I can use a bag of chemicals for my usage. So where is that respect? Where is that value for life? It won't be there. Just like suppose if I have if I have 1 kg of sodium chloride, it's okay, I have 1 kg of sodium chloride. I bought it. Sodium chloride is there in my hand. If I throw it in the gutter, who cares? I had sodium. I threw it in the gutter. That's it. Is it not? But if somebody comes and starts throwing me like that, okay, I have 70 kgs of some chemicals. I'll throw it in the gutter. We cannot take it on ourselves. Can we do it? So the kind of worldview which comes from just a chemical perspective is a worldview of exploitation, because everything is just chemicals. If I stab somebody, it's just chemicals. They're just transforming, taking a different color, changing the color, changing the formation. That's all. some secretions are coming out, some secretions, some reactions are taking place. That's all. So there is much more meaning to life, and that life and that meaning we can understand when we rise beyond this platform. That yes, the essence of life does not lie in chemicals. Yep. So we are more than chemicals. Now the question is, okay, then what is our real identity? So when a person dies, then the chemicals are pretty much the same. The body weight is pretty much the same. Everything is pretty much the same. But you see, okay, a moment before, the person was attractive, was lively, was enlivening, was filled with energy, and moments later, sometime later, the person is dead, then there are no feelings, no thinking, no desires, no movement, no consciousness, no attraction. So, by the way, what is life and what is death are very difficult questions for science to answer. Mechanistic science cannot answer this very easily. They say, okay, what is life? How do you define life? They say, okay, life means in a absence of death. And so, okay, what is death? And then the definition comes: death means absence of life. What is it exactly? Now, it's 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 an it's too much complex a debate to really ascertain through mechanistic science what is the moment of birth. What is that moment when we can say birth has taken place? Which month, which moment? And as science is progressing, previously it was said no, no, the delivery. I mean, the child coming out. Then they said no, 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 no. I think it's a little before. Then 7.5 months, 7 months. I think the latest is around 3 months. They say. So, what is the moment of birth? Exactly. When does birth take place? When does that that chemical bundle, that one cell, another cell, the two cells having some chemicals, forming forming a combo cell. So when does that gets life? It's very difficult to answer. There's no answer. And what is the moment, exact moment of death? Then in medical science, there are a lot of terminologies of what is called as death. The heart stops, the brain stops, something stops. So there are a lot of kind of and many times a person everything stops and then after some time again he says hi. So that has also happened. That yeah. So the graph shows that the pulse everything has gone down, it's gone zero, and then a person again says okay, hold on. I have something more to do here now. So what is the moment of life? What is the moment of death? We are not able to answer this question actually. Why? Because it all depends upon because the cause for life and death is because of is is because of spirit entering the material body and exiting the material body, and therefore from a mechanistic way, from just an analysis of matter, it's very difficult to ascertain. One of our friends was narrating an incident. uh, he said he went for an interview for National Defense Academy, and he said he was selected, and then he was taken further rounds, and then he said the last round was a medical checkup, and they went Bangalore for a 2 days, 3 days medical checkup workshop. He said from the tip of the hair to the tip of the toe, everything was tested in 3 days. Everything was tested. He said there were few, yeah, some 30, 40 people, and they were tested, and they were supposed to select some one third of them or something. And and yes, uh, so there was a lot of tests. There was intellectual tests, there was general knowledge, there was English, there was mathematics, there was a personal interview, there was some physical ability tests. I mean, there was some psychological tests, and after that was the stage of health test actually. And he said when the tests were done actually, and they had declared the result, few of the students were selected. I mean, less than two-digit students were selected, and everyone is packing their bags, going off. But then they thought that okay, many of them were visiting the city for the first time, so they thought, okay, today we'll just roam around, have some shopping, roam around the city. Because who knows when we'll come back in life to this place. So everybody was going, and he said actually there was my friend said actually that there was a gentleman who was from Kerala. He was such a well-built, tall, hefty fellow. Not hefty, but well-built, strong, strong, powerful fellow. In fact, he was in the whole merit list. He was the second. No, he was the second in the whole merit list actually. Overall merit list performance. Very powerful person. So he didn't go, but everybody else went. And he said, "I'll just relax. I'm a bit tired. Just relax here, and you all go and roam around." So they went. They went for a movie. They roamed around here and there in parks, and they saw sightseeing. They came back. So when they came back, to their utter shock, they found this gentleman dead. It was a shock for all of them. It was not just a shock for all of them. It was a shock for the whole no, community and setup. It was a shock for the entire army hospital there, because just just a day before, he was no, I mean, just few days before, I mean, just 3 4 days before, he was tested completely from tip to toe, and just a day before, he was given certificate that he's completely healthy. There is no problem like that. And then the next day, he's found dead. And then his postmortem was done. Everything, they could not find any reason why he died. So, what is life? What is death? That itself gives us a pointer that there is no point in searching for for this question in the realm of matter. We need to rise above the realm of matter to understand this. Yes. So it can be simply said that yes, life and death, what is the difference? The body remains the same, the soul is gone. And that's what Lord Krishna explains in Bhagavad Gita when he says that for the soul, there is neither birth nor death at any time. He has not come into being, he does not come into being, and he will not come into being. He is unborn, eternal, ever existing, primeval. He was not slain when the body is slain. So body is matter, soul is spirit. Body is not conscious, the soul is conscious. Body changes, the soul doesn't change. Body is temporary, the soul is eternal. So in that sense, we can say that yes, these bodies are changing from birth to babyhood, childhood, youth. The bodies are constantly changing. For the person, his identity does not change. No mother rejects a child just because he changes his body. So the identity does not change. What is that constant factor? That is the soul, which and what is the effect of the soul? If the soul is the energetic, consciousness is the energy, chetana or consciousness. Consciousness is defined as the ability of thinking, feeling, and willing. That's consciousness. The ability of thinking, feeling, and willing. That is called as consciousness. That is the constant factor amidst which is steering through these various kinds of bodies. So the bodies we change in one life itself, that's called as internal reincarnation. And at the end of this life, when one gives up this body and gets an altogether fresh new body based on his performance, the karma settings give a ranking, the all India, I mean all universe ranking, and according to the ranking, one gets a suitable body. So that's external reincarnation, which we will touch upon a little later. So the body is always dead. The soul is always alive. So you are not the body that you see in the mirror. You are the Atma, the soul, the real driver of the bodily car. So now sometimes, question which may come is that sometimes people say, okay, maybe brain is a seed of consciousness. Brain is a seed of consciousness. Maybe. Because you see, the brain is sending all these electrochemical signals which actually uh, electrify and activate all these body parts. So, so one may see like that. Now, if you go into medical history, then there are many cases many recorded cases of a person's brain malfunctioning, but the person functioning properly. Like there was one accident about a person, uh, met with an accident. His car got collided to a truck which was having rods, and this was such a heavy accident that this rod pierced through his head, came out through, through. So this person, he realized something has happened, some external body has intruded inside. So he was wondering what happened. So he took out the rod, no? And there was a big hole. You see, it was a through hole. It was a huge, substantial hole actually, all through his brain, like that. And with that, actually, he didn't know what to do because, uh, so he got out of his car, took out the rod, and the, and then he was walking, nearby. It seems that he knew the locality or he knew the city. He was a resident. So he walked his way to a nearby hospital, like that, and he went and he said, "It seems that I am in an emergency." And anybody who was seeing him was getting shocked. This person is, what is this person like? I mean, so because you can see through, that's how through that rod had pierced. And he said, no, the only problem is that this rod went inside, here, so can something be done about it? And he himself, when the surgeon came and saw, everybody was shocked, frightened to see him actually. So he was operated, uh, and he lived. He lived. Uh, I mean, he survived that particular incident. Actually, that rod is kept in Harvard Medical Museum. Uh, so so yes, sometimes there are accounts when neurologists say that they don't understand what to do with a particular typical disease, and they just tried out removing some gray matter, and it solved the problem. Now, technically speaking, gray matter, if you remove from the brain, it should lead to impairment, some of the other body organ. But then they say that there are accounts, but they remove the gray matter, and the person's problem got solved. He was just happily living. So we can try to understand that it's not just the brain. There are scores of these type of medical accounts. There are scores of these type of medical accounts. But we can understand from the effect of the brain also that yes, it's not just some electrical signals moving around which constitute life. Like say for example, no, if I were to come near you and if I were to give you say got muted. Unmute. So 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 if I were to come near you And if I were to suppose I give you a tight slap on your face, sorry for that, but just suppose, I'm not going to rehearse it, but just suppose that if I were to give you a tight slap on your face, you're going to tell us, why did you no, slap me? What's wrong? No, you okay? I mean, what did I do wrong? And then if I say, no, no, I'm really sorry. Actually, I have a lot of good feelings for you. I mean, I have a lot of positive feelings for you, a lot of helping out feelings for you, and all that, and a lot of that way synergy with you, like that. But what can I do? You please try to understand the situation. What can I do? My C fibers are firing. It's just that my C fibers are firing. I'm not able to control it. Now the question is that, no, I mean, uh, it's not C fibers who are responsible for the action. C fibers may be the medium actually. Now we may know, yes, C fibers fire, then only you punch a person. But then no, if you get a punch from someone, you will not blame C fibers for it, and say, I will destroy all the C fibers in the universe. But you say, I'll destroy that person. At least I'll break his teeth. So so it's not C fibers who are responsible for an action. And, so it's a person. It's a person. Like one time there was an interesting case, uh, criminal case in a Western judicial court actually, in which actually the lawyer was very, very smart, very the lawyer really made a powerful story, and he really went ahead fooling around. So his story was that so his the lawyer's his client was a murderer. He had committed murder, brutal, in cold-blooded murder. But this lawyer was really powerful. So he made up a case. He said, you see, my client is innocent. He's as innocent like a cow. He cannot do anything. So can you imagine? All the proofs were against him. And then he said, no, there is no problem. My client has no problem. The only problem is in his genes. Why should he be punished for some inherent deficiency which this poor fellow has in his genes? This was a terrific case. Okay, so whom to punish? Who made the genes? Now, so this was a terrific case actually, so articulately pointed out. But now, if you try to understand, does it require some intelligence to understand? Now, you may not even know genes, but you can understand that genes cannot do murder. Presence or absence or deficiency of some genes, right? So, our identity cannot be just some electrical signals, cannot be just some electrochemical, flux which is rotating around or which is revolving around this whole, bodily anatomy. It's much more than that. And therefore, what we can understand is, you see, brain is like a computer. Now, just like a person may use a laptop, may use an Apple laptop to get his things done. It'll be comfortable, he can be more productive. But suppose the laptop got crashed. Now, when the laptop gets crashed, it's not that the person becomes completely paralyzed. He can still do something. It may be a little less productive, but yes, the person can still do something. So, brain is like a computer. That's the point which we can understand. So, in fact, there was this very interesting research by neuroscientist Dr. Wilder Penfield. So Dr. Wilder Penfield did an amazing experiment, very meaningful experiment. So he was using, his, he was actually tapping the electrochemical signals actually. No, and he was studying the brain states. There are these instruments like fMRI, which can really study the brain states. So he was studying the brain states of people, and then he would actually do experiments. He would tell his patients or clients to do various things, and he would see that, okay, which part of the brain got activated, got triggered, electrically triggered when the person did that activity. So like say for example, he told his client, okay, my dear, please sit relaxed. Take a deep breath. Don't worry about anything. Don't think about any problem. Just forget it. Just relax. Just chill out, man. And then he said, don't do anything on your own. When I tell you to do something, do it. When I tell you to undo it, then only undo it. Is it clear? The client said, yes. All good. Sounds good. So he said, okay. Ready? Get set. And then he said, okay. Now I tell you, you please raise your right hand. Client said, okay. Yeah. He raised his right hand. It's his right hand. And the doctor said, wonderful, wonderful, all good. Keep it there. So he studied that when the person lifted his right hand, which area of the brain got activated. And then he said, okay dear, put it down. So he put it down. Dr. Penfield studied which area of the brain got activated when he put down. And then he said, okay, now just chill out. Don't do anything. He said, yes, no problems. Don't do anything. And now Dr. Penfield brought his electrical signal simulator, external stimulator, and he really maps to that area of the brain which got activated when the hand got raised. Dr. Penfield again told his now client, his patient, he said, don't do anything, just chill out, relax. And he said, yes, as you say. And then Dr. Penfield, he activated his signal transmitter to and started sending electrical signals on that part of the brain which had got activated when the hand got raised. And lo and behold, the patient's hand got raised. And the patient was also shocked. He said, doctor, what happened? The hand got raised. Dr. Penfield said, chill out, let it be there. No problem, no worries. It's all good. It's no problem. It's no worries. The patient, his heart was beating. He never raised the hand. Only the hand went up. And then Dr. Winfield said, keep it there. Don't put it down. And then he maps signal transmitter to that area of the brain which got activated when the hand got down, and Dr. Penfield started sending electrical signals to activate that part of the brain, and to the utter surprise of the patient, his hand got down, he got up. He got so frightened. He was about to run away. And that was Dr. Penfield's success. So Dr. Penfield did this amazing experiment. So very interesting, amazing, and an instructive experiment. So now, my question to all of you is this: that you see, Dr. Penfield did this experiment 2 times, right? 2 times the hand was raised, the hand was put down. So the hand was raised once, the hand was raised, put down once. The hand was raised a second time, the hand was put down a second time. Now, my question to all of you is that in the second time, the repeat case, Dr. Penfield used his signal transmitter, external signal transmitter, to activate that particular portion of the brain to raise the hand. And Dr. Penfield used the signal transmitter to activate that portion of the brain, a particular portion of the brain, to put down the hand. The question is, in the first case, who used that portion of the brain to raise the hand and that portion of the brain to put down the hand? That is the soul. Okay. Let's go to the next slide. So from a material point of view, we see that our body is made up of matter. Yeah. Everything is finished at the time of death. So therefore, the material point of view is a very bleak point of view, a dismal point of view, a dreary point of view. Because the reality is that we are not the material body which is made of this flesh and bones. We are the spirit soul which is encaged in the material body. We do not die when the material body stops to function. So therefore, Bhagavad Gita explains that the spirit soul is the unseen driver of the bodily car. The body is like a car. Just like in a car, many times we don't see the driver. The mirrors are jet black. So the driver may not be seen, but that doesn't mean there is no driver. Without the driver, the car can never move. Therefore, without the soul, the body can never move. So there is a driver. Yes. And we see the analogy. So this analogy is comparing the car to the body. The car has mechanisms, organs for sight, sound. Similarly, the body has. So energy, movements. Yes. And the body is termed dead without the presence of the driver, that is the soul. So just like a bird is trapped in a cage, the soul is similarly trapped in the body, which is made up of these five elements: earth, water, air, fire, and ether. The soul is trapped. Yes. And not knowing this, people spend all their lives in polishing the cage, pampering the body without feeding the soul. So the Shastras, the Vedic Shastras give this analogy of a cage and a bird in a cage. So polishing the body, pampering the body is like polishing the cage, and not taking care of the soul is like not feeding the bird. So the cage may look very attractive, it's gold plated, it's shining, but the bird inside is not fed, malnutrition, it dies. So what is the use of that cage? Similarly, what is the use of pampering the body when the soul is dying of hunger? Now we may say, okay, how do you know the soul is hungry, the soul is malfed, the soul is malnutrition and all that? That is very clear. That is crystal clear in this world. Disturbance, or we can say hunger of the soul, leads to restlessness, agitation of the mind. So that is where we can understand the soul is not fed. Why modern day people's minds are so agitated? Mind is so difficult to control. Mind control is one of the main main challenges of the modern day society. Stress, hypertension is one of the most challenging diseases we are facing. It's widespread. It's widespread and it kills people. Kills people. I mean, people kill themselves. Like that. Stress, hypertension. People kill themselves. Is such a deadly disease which is happening. Where from this stress, tension, all these problems of the mind are coming? They are coming because the soul is hungry. The soul is not fed. That's how we can understand the hunger of the soul. That's where we can understand uh, the soul is suffocating in the airs of materialism. Just like if we have carbon dioxide all around, we will be suffocating. Similarly, the soul has all material airs all around, the soul is suffocating. So, the only when the soul breathes the connection to Krishna, the connection to God, then the soul can have some air. That air, that food which it is tuned to. That's the point which we have to understand. That the soul is hungry. So yes, if one is, it's just like this. It's just that now we can understand. Where is the problem? Why, despite of so much material advancement, so many, see, technology as it is advancing at such a rapid pace. Before we can get satiated experiencing one gadget, the next version comes. The next version comes. The next version comes, and so on. The technology is advancing at such a rapid pace. Despite all that, why people's hearts are empty? While the mind is blown up, the mind is exploding, people are committing suicide, people are uncontrolled, the stress and hypertension is, taking, is overwhelming people. Why all this is happening? People are not able to control themselves in a fit of anger, in a fit of greed, there is now such a terrible violence which is taking place all around, crimes, mind-boggling. The amount of exploitation, the amount of crimes, the amount of molestation of character, it's mind-boggling and unbelievable. Why this is so? This is all saying that now in no way this disregards or this flouts the efficacy of the material inventions which are made. Yes, they all have their utility, they are all well and fine and well accepted and acknowledged. But all that is incomplete because it is only food for the body. That's what it means, polishing the cage. Where is the food for the bird? Where is the food for the soul? And because that is not fed, we are seeing so many problems exploding, especially in the modern day society. Such problems which we have never heard of in the Vedic times. Because now there is an explosion of materialistic vision. And the dimensions of the spirit soul, the spirit is not much understood, is not well understood and imbibed and accepted. That's the problem. That is the problem. It's just like suppose suppose I have a bike. Now, if I'm feeling very hungry, I am not fed. Nobody has fed me. I'm feeling very hungry. Now, if I have 500 rupees and I go to the petrol pump and he says, "Okay, fill it up," and he fills 500 rupees petrol in my bike. Now, the question is that the bike is filled, the tank is full, but will that satisfy my hunger? Not at all. No, I may say I spent 500 rupees, my hunger is not satisfied. If you wanted to satisfy your hunger, you should have gone to a restaurant or you should have gone home to the mother. Is it not? So when we say no, but the bike requires servicing, the bike requires petrol. Yes, bike requires petrol and we require food, and these foods are not interchangeable. Is it not? The bike is empty. When you cannot put one bucket of dal inside the bike and start running very nicely. Similarly, you cannot take 10 liters of petrol in. Is it not? The foods are not interchangeable. So what should we do? We have to supply both. Is it not? So yes, modern day we are very expert in supplying the food for the body. All we have to do is add on a little bit food for the soul, and then we see how life becomes much more much more relishable, much more digestible. Life becomes much more meaningful and substantial. That's food for the soul. So matter differentiates from what is living. There is a substantial dimensional difference between the two. Now, to see that, let's see an example. Now we may say, okay, I'm not just a powerful computer or robot. It's not robotics. It's only that a man is a biological, a little more polished robot. But then we also have our robots. Is man not just a powerful computer or a robot? If that is the question we have to ask. We can take the example of a drama. Now suppose a drama is being enacted out, a drama is recorded by a camera and a drama is observed by the judges. Now one may say, okay, the judges watching the drama, the camera is watching the drama. It's all the same. So if you try to analyze, is it the same or is there a difference between the two? So now when the camera is recording the drama, the camera can record and reproduce the precise details at which now, you know, at which 1/10 of the second, what did the person do, who did what. The camera can tell the exact details, is it not? Second to second, millisecond to millisecond details. Yeah, the camera can tell that. Now we may say, okay, the judges may not be able to say. If you tell the judges, okay, the drama was 20 minutes, 5 minutes, 40 seconds. So now what was happening? The judges may not be able to tell 5 minutes, 40 seconds, what was happening. Is it not? But if you ask the camera, can you rate the drama? The camera will find great difficulty. Now we may say, okay, machine learning, artificial algorithm, now intelligence may run behind and all that. But it is a whole lot of a very complex task to make that happen. And that task also, to do artificial intelligence or machine learning, you need gold standard data. That means what? You need physical judges to judge it, and that's how the computer will understand. Okay, this was a drama. This was just very good. This was judged obnoxious. This was judged, not up to the standard. This was poor. This was average, below average, above average. And then that is how the computer will learn. And the computer will need a lot of data. You give him 1,000, 2,005, drama clippings and the judgments, and then he may be able to. Very complex. It's based on human judgments actually. You are just storing human judgments to judge again. That's all. So a camera can never make a judgment. When judges are observing the drama, then the judges can judge the quality of the drama. How much of culture, tradition is presented in the drama, how much of emotions are presented in the drama. And then the judges are watching the drama. We can see that the judges may be crying at some point of time. The judges may be smiling at some point of time, laughing at some point of time. The camera will not do that. That way. So there is a difference. Similarly, the judges may understand that okay, this drama used maybe touched upon a controversial thread which may not be good to discuss in a social setting. So this drama is rejected, disqualified. Camera cannot do such things actually. So there is a difference. Now, therefore, we can understand man is not just a powerful computer or a robot. Like one time they were showing in television, they were showing that actually some robo was doing Arati of Balaji. Srinivasa Govinda Venkataramana Govinda. Robot was doing the Arati. And then this was being shown to villagers, and villagers were seeing, and they said, oh, the technology, the science has advanced so much. It to insani bana diya, Now, it doesn't even require a mechanical engineer or a first year engineering student to understand this. Any class 9, 10th, 8th student can also tell. Actually, what is this? Now, what is the big deal in doing Aarti? This is not. You just add a servo motor or a stepper motor, and now give a regular electrical feed to that motor, and set its speed to a certain way so that it can do rounds. That's all. Is it not? It's converting the. And then you just use a robotic arm, which is an expert particular degree of freedom, and then it's just doing round. At the back there's a servo motor. Again, not much. But to a person who is illiterate, to a person who is a villager, a simple person, he may think that okay, life has been created. So life is not mechanical. I remember when I was in school, actually, we heard a news which said that in a few years, actually, robotics is going to be so advanced. we are going to make humanoids. They will just look like humans. You will not be able to tell whether it is real or it is a robot. And this will be and they said that actually and we will actually fabricate gender in these robots. Actually, there will be female robots and there will be male robots actually, and you can even marry, and you can, your psychophysical will get installed in the robo you marry, and that way, it'll be a perfect, psychological fitting, like that, and robo will just follow you, that way, and humanoids. This is what we will come up to. So I went to primary school that time, like that, and now the stage. Now, I mean, I'm almost. I'm done with PhD. I have opened my own school, but there is no. I never saw any, anything close to that. Where is a humanoid? The male humanoid, the female humanoid, and all that. You see, the point is that it is only out of ignorance that one can make. One can say it's all the same. Is it not? It's only out of ignorance one can say that it's all the same. It's all the same means you don't know what it really is. That means, it's ignorance, it's lack of knowledge actually. So similarly, saying that actually a human being or life is as good as machines is a statement which is made in ignorance, lack of knowledge. That's all. It's a statement which is made in ignorance. In fact, because everything just appears to be the same, is it not? Now, so everything just appears to be the same, but it is not the same, is it not? Now, it's not the same. It's all ignorance. So now we may say, okay, what is biology? Biology is just chemicals. It's all chemistry. If you know chemistry, you know biology. Really? Is it the same? Now we may say, what is chemistry? Chemistry is just some laws. That is physics. What is physics? If physics is just some mathematics. Like that. It's all maths. Really? What is maths? Maths is just a philosophy. Everything is just a philosophy. And what is philosophy? Anything you speculate. Anything you articulate. Like that. So that means you do anything and everything. That is everything. This way we just prove. Anything you do is everything. That means you're fully ignorant. Is it not? I mean, that means the comment is fully ignorant, and you really don't know anything actually. So it's very easy to make a very hyperbolic claim, but there is a dimension of difference between life and matter. So the essence of life is not in machines or matter. It's not mechanical. It's not at all mechanical. Yes. So the lens has no experience. The humans, judges, have experience, no emotions. Judges have emotions, no consciousness. Judges have conscious. No judging. Judges are able to judge.
I don't know what else to do. Tell me what to do.
So here, the Prabhupada was asked this question. Okay, I think that the body is just like a complex machine. So, yeah, which gets worn out and crashes. Why should we bother about something called a soul? And Prabhupada is giving a very nice, logical and technical answer based on observations, based on objective observations. That's all. Prabhupada is saying that, okay, does your car or computer grow? Does it grow? Do you see a palm top becoming a laptop and a laptop becoming a supercomputer? Do you have a male and female car which can unite and produce a baby car? A living body undergoes these 6 changes, whereas matter just deprecates. It is the soul that makes a living body alive. So life means there are these 6 changes. What are these 6 changes? That a living person, he grows. So he takes birth, that's the first stage. Grows, that's the second stage. After grows, he maintains himself, that's the third stage. The fourth stage is produces byproducts. The fifth stage dwindles, and sixth stage dies. Whereas the matter doesn't follow the six stage phenomena. There is no growth for the matter. No? It may maintain for some time. There is no byproduct. There is no reproduction there. You know, a Benz cannot produce a nano Benz. There is no reproduction there, and matter will just dwindle and then disintegrate, not die. So matter follow a three-stage phenomena, whereas the living body follows a six-stage phenomena. The matter just dwindles, maintains dwindles. That's all. No growth, no production. Yes. So he says machines cannot reproduce. And thirdly, the living body is conscious. There is thinking, there is feeling, there is willing. Matter has no consciousness. See, human beings cannot be programmed. Many times you see, because the human beings have their own thinking, feeling, willing, you cannot just program. You can guide a person. Sometimes advertise try to program a person, no, buy this product, but the person has his own thinking and feeling and willing. He can choose not to. Is it not? Sometimes parents try to program their children, no? I mean, for good only. But many times we see that even the parents try to program for good, the child has its own free will, freedom to think, feel will, and he may go against. I mean, may or may not be good for him, but the point is that we see that happening. That means that living beings cannot be just programmed. So yes, this is what it says: birth, growth, maintenance, production of byproducts, dwindling, and death. These are the six changes which every living being goes through. Yes. So here it is explained that the soul is covered by the gross body, which is made of these five elements. But in between the soul, so here it explains, yes, the soul is covered by this gross body. So, which is made of earth, water, fire, air, ether, the gross body. And then between the soul and the gross body, there is a subtle body. The subtle body is made up of mind, intelligence, and ego. And beneath both of them is the spirit soul. So we can say that, okay, the spirit soul is like the computer operator or like the computer engineer or like a computer scientist, like that, using a computer. The gross body is the hardware. The hardware, the yeah, the 32 GB RAM, the i9, i7, microprocessor. It's the hardware, and the subtle body is like the operating system. It's Ubuntu, 18 or Ubuntu 20. So it's like it is Mac. So it's the subtle body. The subtle body is the operating system. And who is the programmer? Who is the operator? Who is the researcher? Who is the scientist? Who is the engineer? Is the spirit soul. He uses this machinery. That's how we can understand that there is this two-layer phenomenon. Or just like we can understand that okay, just like we many times, okay, we wear a shirt actually. So the shirt is like a gross body, but under the shirt one may wear an inner shirt, banyan or something like that. So that is like the subtle body. So subtle body, gross body, and beneath the two is the soul. Yes. So now we have done constituent analysis of the gross body and the subtle body. Now we will see that the mind, intelligence, and ego are basically the platform from where the thinking, feeling, and willing shoots out, gets enacted out, and it gets manifested through the gross elements, the gross body. But then it shoots out from the subtle body. But then it starts or it triggers from the soul. So what is the compositional constituent analysis of the soul? The Shastras explain that the spirit soul has three essential components: Sat, Chit, and Ananda. Sat means eternity, Chit means knowledge, Ananda means bliss. So what is the soul? What is the compositional analysis of the soul? morphology, no, the constituent analysis of the soul. The soul is made up of three things: Sat, Chit, Ananda. So how to understand this? We can understand this by making an objective observation. Just like if we try to see, all of us have an intrinsic, innate, inherent desire to always continue to live. Like suppose if an option is given to you, okay, you have two options. One thing is you can live for 4 months, and the second option is you can live for 40 years. So given two options, which one you are going to choose? I say, Arey, this is a question to ask. Live for 4 months, live for 40 years. Obvious. I'll choose in one. So why? Because now that means that we always feel that we should always go on living. Even an old person feels. So now also there is this inherent feeling. Somehow we see, okay, people are dying. People are dying. There's infection. Everything. There can be accidents. There is COVID. There are so many things which may happen. We may die at any time. Objectively, intellectually, everybody knows death can come anytime. But when we are living our day-to-day lives, none of us feel and none of us want to feel that we will also die. Is it not? Why? 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 The reason is because that is the nature of the soul. The soul is eternal. It's coming from the soul. But now if you see the body always keeps dying. If you ask from biology point of view, the cells are always dying and getting replaced. So the body is always dying. So there is a complete phase shift here, is it not? It's a 180-degree phase shift. The soul never dies, body is always dying. Therefore the dichotomy arises. Similarly, knowledge. All of us, have an inherent taste to know. Something is just something we say, like somebody comes to us and he asks a question. "Hey, तुमको पता है क्या हुआ?" Then we say, "हाँ, बताओ बताओ क्या हुआ?" Really, क्या हुआ, So we get really excited, is it not? We get really excited. Why people are excited about news? Hey, अभी क्या हुआ? Next update क्या हुआ? So we want to know. We want to know. Is it not? So because this desire is coming because the soul's nature is knowledge. It's all knowing. The nature is all knowledge. Now if you see the body is full of ignorance. The body is full of ignorance. Where is knowledge in the body? Is it not? The body is always full of ignorance, actually. So, so we want to know, but the body is full of ignorance, actually. Is it not? The body always poses ignorance. Is it not? Just like you sleep, you forget. We forget everything. Is it not? We get up from sleep, it takes some boot up time. Our boot up times are really huge than computers, like that. We really need to get the hang of who we are, where we are, everything gets installed. It takes time, and then we come in. The body is always uh, body always imposes blockage in the pursuit of knowledge. In that sense, we can see. Similarly, bliss, ananda. Everyone wants to be happy, and objectively, intellectually speaking, we understand, or we can understand that nobody is happy in this world. The rich are also suffering, poor are also suffering. Only the set of problems are different for both, but the experience of suffering is same. Poor is suffering because it doesn't have base facilities, gross facility doesn't have dal rice, the basic facilities to necessities to thrive on. The rich is also suffering because it doesn't have that niche facility which they are hankering for. They have something, but they are hankering for something more, so they are also empty. The point is that nobody can be happy, and objectively we may know, but still all of us want to be happy, feel happy somehow or the other. Why that drive of happiness is coming, despite knowing that we cannot be happy in this world, because it is the nature of the soul. And now we see body. Body is full of suffering because body offers us so much suffering, is it not? Anytime we get up from sleep, we get some pain here, there, everywhere. Ooh, ouch. Is it not? Any part of the body is so delicate, something happens, is it not? Just like if you take this finger, small finger, this one. In what ways this finger can give us happiness, comfort? What can we do with this finger? Can't do much actually than here some poke in some hole or something like that. Can't do much with this finger. Now if you try to see in what ways this finger can give us suffering, huh? Put this finger in the door hinge, close the door, then we will be really in ecstasy, is it not? Now, uh, play with a knife, put this finger under a stone, is it not? So put it in fire, put it in the socket, the hole of the socket, is it not? So in this way, we can try to understand the small finger. There are the dozens of ways in which it can give us suffering, whereas it can give us happiness in very few ways. That means what? What is it designed for? What is the body designed for? The body gives us suffering. That's all. Is it not? So now you can try to understand that the body is completely reverse of the soul. The soul is Satchidananda. The body is temporary. The body is dwindling, the body is changing, the body dies. So the body is not Sat, the body is Asat. The body is not Chit, the body is Achit. And the body is not Ananda, it's Nirananda. So now the spirit soul is encased in this body, which is completely immiscible. कोई है ही नहीं frequency match. And because there is this frequency mismatch, इसीलिए life में everybody is unhappy and dissatisfied. तो misfit हो गया ना? It's a complete misfit. And therefore, we need to rise beyond the plane of the body and really feed these and awaken these natures of the soul. Then we can be truly happy. Now, what we are speaking is not just philosophy or the figment of our own imagination or belief system, or maybe some or some remnants of some conduction from some outdated traditional system. Uh, but there are scientific proofs for the existence of our anti-material personality, which modern day science is also acknowledging. We'll just touch upon a few. So the first proof we can say, okay, common sense. When a person dies, we may say, okay, he has gone or she has gone. Now one may say, okay, who has gone? She is right there. Is it that 5 foot 6 inches in a 85 pounds? She's still there. No? Who has gone? So the common sense says, okay, there is somebody who was there inside, the driver of the body. He is gone, and therefore people are mourning about it. The person dies, she has passed away. The who is passed away? The body is still there. Is it not? The soul, he is passed away. Consciousness, yes. So here we may say, okay, we can program a camera, that when a camera sees a red light, the camera can give a print command that, okay, I see red light, because you put a red prism there, or a red band pass filter, So the only red passes actually, then you can say, okay, I see red light. Is it not? Now if you put a blue band pass filter, but you forget to change the the print command, then you will see blue, so the blue passes, and you will say again the print command will be I see red light. Is it not? But when a person is seeing red light, he may be reminded of his marriage day, when his wife was first time wearing the red dress, and he may be in ecstasy in those memories actually. So this is consciousness, thinking, feeling, and willing. That's a proof of the soul, the experience. Near death experience, out of body experience studies. So there have been many cases in medical history about near death experience where people have given accounts. There have been many accounts of people who were very close to death, on the verge of death, and they were being clinically treated, and they experienced themselves, and they were completely on anesthesia, and they related after the experiment that, I mean, after the operation, somehow they survived, and they related that they were watching the whole operation like that. From a point outside the body. So many people, many survivors of very close to death interface encounters, and somehow they survived out. Give the complete account, and such type of patients have given a complete account of how the operation went. One time there was a boy, and then he somehow survived, and then no, and then he was very angry at the doctor. The doctor said, "Arey, we saved your life. Why are you so angry and you are charging and shouting and yelling? What is the problem? We saved your life. You should be grateful and all that." He says, "Doctor, you are such a nonsense. No? He said, I was seeing everything, and I know what happened in the theater. Don't mess up with me, and don't play because I know everything. And this boy was really angry actually. And then he told, actually, you doctor, you fool, you were so callously and so casually you were operating me. I was on the verge of death, and you were so casual. Why? Because uh, this doctor was, while he was operating, he was telling about the experience of his romantic date the previous day to his assistant nurse, like that. And he was in that mood, he was narrating while he was operating. So this boy, he was seeing it. I mean, and then he was so furious, that you doing my operation so casually. Something would have happened. You know, he would not have been able to kill him. Could not have said that. But the point is that he was so angry. Why? Because the doctor felt really ashamed. Oh, it got caught. So how this is out of body experience actually, near death experience. So there are many doctors who have been researching on this. I mean, many scientists have been researching on this. Many books have been written on this. Dr. Bigelow is like one of them. So out of body experience, when a person narrates an experience of what is happening to him, and clinically speaking, he's unconscious, and then he narrates the pictorially the whole scene, uh, claiming himself to be at a point outside his body, watching his body. That just can never be proved unless we say that, okay, there is a driver of a car, and the driver may not be visible, but from the corner of his eyes, from a far distance, he may be watching the car. Anybody tries to come mess up with the car, the driver will come right there to beat up. That same thing as out of body experience, near death experience. Yeah, 11% to 14% of the average American population are mentally and physically healthy, have had OBE. This is a medical journal of current problems in pediatrics. Yeah. So Dr. Michael Sabin, cardiologist and professor at the Emory University, uh, uh, is a vivid example of a researcher actually who started his research journey with a complete disbelief in NDE, and then really researching through these cases, he became an ardent no, uh, uh, promoter of NDE and OBE. Uh, yeah, so so this is an account of surgeon Dr. Bigelow, who says that actually after 30 years of my research as a surgeon, and I'm in my practice as a surgeon, I'm convinced that the soul exists. He said, because I have seen death so close, the person is so lively, there is life, there is warmth, there is luster, there is glare in a person, and in moments the person dies, and it becomes so cold, so dark, so horrifying, so intolerable. Uh, the soul exists. And actually, he wrote this complete letter proposal to his government actually to give grants to research about the nature of the soul. Dr. Bigelow. So therefore, there are these scores of books which one can find, which are talking about these out of body experiences or near death experiences after life. Scores of books have been written by so many researchers. Next is reincarnation research. This research is about past life memories. People remembering their past lives. And many scientists are researching in this field. One of them was Dr. Ian Stevenson, the Carlson Professor of Psychiatry at the University of Virginia. Over his lifespan, he investigated more than 2,000 cases of spontaneous reincarnation memories in children. And he had a very strict criteria of evaluation. He would only evaluate children below 5 because now below 5 child is very difficult to manipulate. Even if he or she does, you can catch. From various geographical demographic locations, Dr. Stevenson found out these cases. He had a criteria that he wanted a list of more than 50 accounts of or incidents or events or facts about the previous life which can be validated. So Dr. Stevenson went ahead doing a terrific research in this way in mapping, in first of all hearing the person in the present life, small child speaking about a past life, and then validating all that. That validation, and only after all this analysis and testification, he could say, okay, it's a genuine past life memory case like that. Dr. Stevenson found such an interesting observation, a complete plethora of a new dimension. What he found cases. Uh, he found in past life memories. He found cases of people which were mind-boggling to speak about. Like, say, for example, Dr. Stevenson talks about what is a weak case and what is a strong case. And like somebody says, okay, he's a reincarnation of uh, uh, Henry Ford. It seems to be a weak case. Because anybody may want to become Henry Ford, and like that. But but if the reverse is there, if a millionaire, son or daughter is speaking about being reincarnated as, telling about her past life being a fisherwoman, which was in rags and so on, that becomes a strong case. Dr. Stevenson has found cases of children who were speaking a language which their parents never knew. It's just like, a German child is speaking Telugu and his parents have no clue of what's happening. And she's speaking about her past life. That's what she was, a Telugu woman. So, such cases, such interesting cases that Stevenson found out in his, past life memory cases. And yes, even in this field, we can find, scores of books which are written. Yeah. So Dr. Stevenson, in his research, he found out that there are not only past life memories, but there are past phobias. There are past life phobias. Past life phobias means that uh, the person is having a now the reincarnation case of this person, this child. The child is having a phobia which very much relates to the way the child was killed in his or her previous life. Like, say, for example, uh, the child in his previous life was killed by a bullet. The moment the child sees weapons or bullets, immediately he gets a phobia. It's like a phobia attack. It's like the perspiration, the shivering, and everything, and it's a fit like that phobia. Similarly, somebody died in water, uh, and now in his next life, and he's talking about a reincarnation case. And Dr. Stevenson found out he's speaking about reincarnation, which is validating, but this person is having a phobia. He's having a hydrophobia. The moment he or she sees water, immediately she gets a fit. It's a phobia like that. So Dr. Stevenson found out such cases in his accounts. Not only this, Dr. Stevenson also found out past life birthmarks. This was amazing. Because he found that here is this child who is speaking about a past life, and then he was hit by a bullet right through in his chest. And Dr. Stevenson found out and mapped it with the police records and all that yes, the deceased person actually was killed with a bullet. And through post-mortem reports and all, Dr. Stevenson mapped the coordinates, and he saw that actually in the present life the child is having a birthmark actually. And Dr. Stevenson again did the coordinates, and these two this matched with the post-mortem coordinates of where the bullet had hit. Past life birthmarks. So this is very interesting and phenomenal, powerful research, which says that okay, here is a set A, here is a set B, which appear to be disjoint. What is the connecting factor? Yeah, yeah. So the next thing Dr. Stevenson talks about is twins. The difference in the behavior of the twins. The genetically the twins are identical. Why the difference of behavior is there? If genes is what decides behavior, why do twins not behave the same? Because there's a soul. There's a soul. Uh, There is this freedom of thinking, feeling, and willing. There is a soul. That's a proof of the soul. And therefore, there may be two twins. They may look alike. We may get, we may get confused who is who. But then the temperament is not the same. Yeah. So there have been interesting, amazing accounts of people who have reincarnated. Yeah, many famous scientists have believed in reincarnation since ages. Socrates, John Adams, Benjamin Franklin. Yep. Yeah, this is a case study. One such case study case by Dr. Stevenson about a girl in India called Shukla Gupta who was remembering her past life. So Shukla was staying. Shukla was always talking about a village called as Bhatpara, and she was telling she is actually a girl called as Mana. One day his father researched, he found out that Bhatpara is an actually existing place in Bengal, and then but the whole family went actually. They arrived, and Shukla was as soon as she went to the station, it is as if she was escorting all of them to her home. She was running actually without avoiding possible turns. She took them to the straight house of to one house which was Shri Amritlal Chakravarti. And Shukla said, he's my father-in-law. And then she identified his son. She said, this is my husband. And so that was a past life account actually. Yeah. She recognized her previous lifetime house, her mother-in-law. She indicated Haridhan Chakravarti, who was her husband. She knew the nicknames of the brother-in-laws. Everybody. She knew the real names. Everybody in the village used to know her brother-in-law is Khetu. But she could tell his real name. Nobody knew his real name was Chetranath. She went, and then from a locker brought out a sari, like that, and and she had a daughter called as Minu, who was 5 years when she died. The previous body. And now the daughter was 16 or something, like that. So Shukla, she now she was having such emotions. She was embracing the daughter. Can you imagine a 5-year-old girl embracing a 16, 18 years old girl, and cajoling him and caressing him, and tears in her eyes and all that. So this is just a case study of reincarnation based research. Yes. So Bhagavad Gita explains that what is the mechanism of reincarnation. The soul leaves the gross body behind and he gets another body based on the quality of desires which are stored in a subtle body at the time of death. Just like when you pass class 12 based on your marks and based on your performance in various competitive examinations, which is based on your study, you get the next position, which college you get. Similarly, based on your CGPA, you get the next job. So similarly in this life, based on what desires we have and what activities we did, what do we deserve, we get the next body. You know, yes. So whatever state of being, Lord Krishna answers in 8.6, one remembers when he quits his body, O son of Kunti, that state he will get without fear. Without fear. So whatever state of being one remembers. So it's just like when there is an examination, what state the person is in, what does one write on the paper, it all depends what he prepared all through the semester. Similarly, at the time of death, so death is like a surprise exam. Nobody gives a notification. Okay, on this date, it's going to be death. It's like a surprise exam. So when there is surprise exam, if only those who are continuously studying every day, only such students can give surprise test. Similarly, what one has done in his life, what activities one has done, what desires one has inculcated, all that actually accumulates and precipitates at the moment of death in the form of the next body. So that means that what activities and desires we have in this life, they are actually that is like a titration experiment going on, and death is the precipitation point, and it not transforms into the next body. Yeah, like somebody uh, yeah, so like it explains if somebody is, say suppose, he likes to, he likes water so much, he spends 10 hours a day, in water, then he's very much likely to get an aquatic body next life. Somebody is very fond of eating flesh, day in, day out, like that. He may very well, such a person may get a carnivorous body. Uh, so, so it's based on desire, because we see each and every animal and plant species is a manifestation for the satiation of a particular desire in full. Like an aquatic body is a manifestation to satiate your desire to, to be aquatic and to be in water. Similarly, satiate one's desire. So each and every animal form is like that, we can see. Similarly, one sleeps too much, one may get a pulveous body, one can hibernate for 9 months, and so on. So on. One is too gluttonous, one may very well get a hog body. So, therefore, desires, we accept one body after quitting another depending on the desires in the mind and good and bad karma. Yes. When one ignores God's laws and engages in sinful activities with his impure mind and senses, then one glides down to animal bodies. So, you see, here is the analogy which has been given. Yes. Yeah. One is sleeping too much and get a beer's body. Yeah. Yeah. One is too sensual, you may get a tree's body, and so on. So therefore, in human form of life, uh, we have got this opportunity. We have got this opportunity. In this human form of life, we have got this opportunity that we can, we have a crossroad. So Srila Prabhupada used to say that, and the Shastras, reiterate that, we have this potentiality. The germ for the germ for relationship with God, the germ for divinity is there inside all of us. The spirit soul, our identity, the spirit soul is very much there. Only it has to be awakened. It's just like a person who's sleeping. When the sleeping person wakes up, he's all active, he's all good. If he's sleeping, he's just a lump, a fixed lump. But when the person is all active, then he's all endeavoring, he's all blissful, he's all energetic. The person is awake. So in this way, the spirit soul has to be awakened. And the spirit soul inherently is wired and tuned for God, towards God. So there is divinity inside, and the spirit soul has this divine nature. And it's full of all good qualities. It's full of enthusiasm. Its nature is Satchidananda. Only we have to awaken, the spirit soul, and we have to awaken by we have to awaken our real identity, that is the spirit soul, by the directions which are given in the Holy Scriptures, the directions of the Shastras, by connecting ourselves to God. So reciprocating in love with God is food for the soul. It's food for the soul. And then the soul starts becoming strong and healthy and gets awakened. Just like a weak and diseased person may not even get up. But in the same person, he gets medication, gets fooding, he becomes healthy, he may knock down anyone. He knock down anyone, he becomes so strong. So that's what can happen to us actually. Therefore, you see, spirituality is not an artificial imposition on our lives. It's not just a lifestyle which we want to artificially install just because it's another alternative we can try and explore. No, that is our inherent nature. We need to reawaken that nature. Our identity, Satchidananda, we need to reawaken it in association, with God. So therefore, the knowledge of the soul is phenomenal. And when we start living by this knowledge, then this knowledge can open a whole new dimension in our lives. This knowledge can open a whole new dimension. It can take us out of all the deadlocks, because the deadlocks are existing on a material plane. If you start living on the spiritual plane, then we transcend these deadlocks, these inebrities. Then one can experience freedom. Then one is no more entangled. Then one is no more suffocating and choked up. Then one is no more no, forced. No, then one has that freedom. One can blossom. One can expand. There are no limits to what one can expand. That's what happens when we awaken the nature of the soul. Because God is unlimited, the spirit soul can expand in unlimited bliss in communion with God. And we have the opportunity. We have the opportunity to make this happen, to make it possible, by following the simple instructions God is giving us in the Shastras, by connecting to God in simple but sublime and meaningful ways. So let's not deprive ourselves of this opportunity and see how connection to God can lead to fulfillment of heart by treading the path, the instructions given by the Lord, the saintly acharyas, and the Shastras. Thank you. So if we have any one or two questions, we can take now. So the knowledge of the soul is amazing, and it opens up a whole new dimension in itself for us, actually, which can make life so exciting, so adventurous, and so meaningful, actually, and which can make things so complete and wholesome. In our next class, next Saturday, is the first time we are going to touch upon now one of the sublime ways of connecting to God. The science of meditation is now, so we are going to discuss from neuroscience, and then we are going to discuss about the matrix of meditation. That next